I want you to imagine this. It's Friday evening. You finally have a night to yourself. You've got the ultimate girl dinner. For me, if I'm at home by myself, that's going to be a homemade flatbread, tortilla type thing pizza, a glass of wine, and if I'm alone, and eating that pizza is probably going to be a glass of red wine because nobody's going to see my stained teeth. And of course, a little dark chocolate to finish it off. Netflix just dropped a new documentary or docu-series, whatever they call them these days. And of course, it's about someone who got murdered or did the murdering, either one. Yes, obviously, you're watching it. You enjoy your night. You go to bed. But here's the question I want you to sit with. Did that actually fill you up? Or did you watch it because everyone on social media was talking about it and you always love true crime? There's a difference, and the difference is what this episode is about. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to No Longer Allowed with Kristen. Today, we are talking about what you consume and how it's shaping your life, whether you realize it or not. So let me tell y'all about me. I have always been a true crime junkie, and before you come after me, I'm not going to sit here and just stop watching true crime. No, because what I just described in the first part of this podcast, that was totally me. I've done it several times. But this is not what this episode is about. It's just stay with me and I'm going to tie it all together for you, okay? Even as a young child, I grew up watching, let's see, Unsolved Mysteries. The OJ trial was on television every day on the news. Then, of course, there was Friday Nights with 2020, the Oxygen Channel, Lifetime movies. I mean, I knew them all. Law and Order, SVU. It was a personality trait. Like, we grew up watching this. And then what came around? True crime podcasts. And then you could just sit there and hear these real raw stories of people who had some kind of experience with that case. And so it like brought you like deep into it. And then of course Netflix comes around. And what was that show? Oh, I forgot what it was. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing such a blank. And you know exactly which one I'm talking about. It was the man who we all thought was innocent. I don't even want to go there with it. I can't think of it. And like I don't want to stop like recording right now to go figure it out either. And like I just, like it was an obsession almost. Like just true crime this and true crime that. And every now and then, like, I will catch myself. I will watch some of those Netflix documentaries. So I'm not going to pretend like otherwise. But let me tell y'all about a moment I realized something like had to change. So my current like 9 to 5 job right now, I work with mortality data. I'm going to just leave it at that for now. When I took this job, it was like I had true crime literally in my hands every single day. Like, how like you live up to this moment to get the real true crime into your hands. And so now my free time was spent consuming true crime and working with true crime. So one day I was scrolling on TikTok and literally everything on my For You page was true crime. My algorithm was completely consumed and I would scroll and scroll. And one day I realized like I hadn't seen a single funny thing across my feed in like a very long time. And I was already starting to like kind of get my one foot into my dark rabbit hole season that I refer to. And I didn't even fully realize it yet. But what I was consuming was having such a bigger impact on me than I even wanted to admit. So let me just say it this way. You are what you consume and you become who you surround yourself with. The things you take in publicly and privately are shaping your perspective on life, whether you realize it or not. I had no clue what I was doing to myself until I started doing the work on myself. I was living so blindly on autopilot. I was so anxious. I remember one time I went to my OB and I was in shambles and I'd stopped working out, which was such a whole personality for me for such a long time. I was numbing myself and I was letting my entire world be consumed by how the world works. The darkness, the heaviness, the noise. Do you see the loop? The world wants us in that loop, too busy for ourselves, too consumed by everything outside of us to notice what's actually going on in the inside. I was living in that loop until one day I decided I didn't want it anymore. I quit getting on my TikTok like cold turkey. I started like a spiritual and a personal growth journey, which honestly took me even into a darker rabbit hole. And it was a season of my life that I had to go through before it got better. But the point was to get me here. And that is, now I can see that full circle moment. I had to go through all of it to be able to sit here and tell you what you consume and who you will surround yourself with is going to shape how you see the world and your circumstances. So, what was actually happening to my brain during this season of my life? So there's this part of your brain, and it's called the reticular activating system. And I had to make sure I said that right because when I was trying to do this earlier, I kept saying reticulating instead of reticular. Anyways, it helps regulate when you wake up and when you sleep, but it also acts as your brain's filter. It decides that what your brain is going to pay attention to and what it pushes to the background. And when you feed it consistently with darkness, negativity, it starts prioritizing that. It starts scanning for it everywhere. Not because the good stuff disappeared, because your brain stopped flagging the good stuff as important. I went to nursing school, and honestly, I do not remember ever learning that we have the ability to actually rewire our brains. It wasn't until I went on my own spiritual journey that I started to understand this. Here's what I want you to know. You have the ability to find what is good in life. We all do. Life does not have to feel as heavy and dark as the world wants us to believe. So, what did I actually do? The first thing I did was I bought a sunrise alarm clock. And I actually shared this with my 10-day shift group in the beginning of the challenge. And this was probably the first real step out of my dark rabbit hole. From there, I started building a better morning routine. And not a perfect one. It was just enough to fill my cup before the day started running for me. Even 20 minutes with a cup of coffee before the hustle started made me feel like so much calmer to get through the day. And over time, I was starting to add movement back in. And it just became a domino effect. It was one small shift at a time, and it just started to make me feel a little bit better. I started reading devotionals in the morning. I got a Bible app, but then I realized the phone was too distracting, so I started actually buying books to read. And for entertainment, I got more intentional. I quit TikTok. I became very selective on which Netflix docs that I watch, and I only watch them every now and then. Podcasts are now just reserved for my longer walks, and I'll only listen to personal growth or business content, things that are actually going to move the needle for me. And I want to be clear, I am not telling you to stop watching true crime or cancel your Netflix. I am just asking you to be intentional and mindful of where your time and attention are actually going. So before I let you go today, and I promise I am almost done, here are 3 things I want you to actually walk away with and start thinking about from this episode. So number 1, you are what you consume. What you take in consistently, the content, the conversations, the environments, is shaping how you see the world, whether you're aware of it or not. Your brain is filtering for what you've been feeding it. Start paying attention to what that actually is. Number 2, being intentional about what you consume is not about restriction. It's about being selective. You don't have to quit everything. You just have to ask yourself, is this filling me up or is it pulling me down? Is this moving me forward or is it going to just keep me stuck? And number 3, small shifts compound. A sunrise alarm clock, 20 minutes in quiet in the morning, one less scroll session. These things seem small on their own, but over time, you create a completely different environment inside of your mind. I'll even link my sunrise alarm clock in the show notes for y'all. It is nothing fancy, and I will say that it is probably the harsher one on the market, but it gets the job done. And I'm recording this episode. It's actually the last day of the 10-day shift. And so I'm going to do a recap on that. I just wanted to get the full 10 days in before I recap that on a podcast episode. So thank y'all so much for being here. If this hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. That is how we grow. I am Kristen Falgoust. This is No Longer Allowed. And consuming darkness, negativity, and heaviness without ever questioning what it's doing for you, that is no longer allowed. I will see y'all in the next episode.